Welcome back to Comical Opinions. It's time to shine a light on one of Marvel's most powerful and complex heroes, Sentry. With his big screen debut in the MCU's Thunderbolts, which just debuted last weekend, fans are hyped, but how does this cinematic Golden Guardian stack up against the comic book legend? Today we're breaking down the key differences in origin, powers, personality, narrative role, and more, before deciding which version reigns supreme. Is it the comic book Sentry with his million exploding suns, or the MCU's action-packed take? Let's find out in 3, 2, 1. Let's kick things off with Sentry's origin, because this is where the comic and MCU versions start to diverge the most. In the comics, created by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee in Sentry number 1 back in 2000, Robert Reynolds is your average Joe, a guy with a troubled past who stumbles across a secret super soldier serum variant in a lab. Think Captain America's serum on steroids. When he drinks it, boom, he's infused with the power of a million exploding suns. But here's the kicker. The serum doesn't just make him a hero, it amplifies his dark side, creating the Void, a terrifying evil persona that's like Sentry's personal Darth Vader. It's almost a separate individual altogether. The comics lean hard into this psychological twist. In the 5-issue Sentry miniseries, we see Robert waking up, haunted by memories of the Void's return, only to realize he's been erased from the world's memory. Why? Because he, Reed Richards, and Doctor Strange used a device called the Sentry Watchtower to make everyone, including Robert himself, forget he was Sentry. It's a gut punch of a plot, blending Silver Age superhero vibes with modern tragedy. The opening scene, where Robert hides the serum in a book and talks to his dog, Watchdog, about being humanity's last hope, it's pure emotional gut punch. How does the MCU stack up? In the Thunderbolts, which just released last weekend, we keep the serum origin but simplify it for the big screen. Robert Reynolds is a former hero who went off the grid after a catastrophic event tied to his unstable powers. There's no memory-erasing watchtower here. Instead, he's a recluse, living in the shadows until Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, the Thunderbolts' shady leader, pulls him back into action. The Void is not a distinct persona like he is in the comics, but more like chaotic energy bursts when Sentry's powers go haywire. The MCU goes for a straightforward, action-driven backstory focusing on external conflict over internal struggle. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but it lacks the mind-bending depth of the comics. But what do you think? The MCU's simpler origin works for a teen movie, or would you rather have it as the comic's psychological edge portrays it in the 2000 series? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next up, let's talk about powers, because Sentry's abilities are where he earns that Marvel Superman nickname. In the comics, this guy is a walking cosmic powerhouse. He has superhuman strength, that's right, he flies, sure, invulnerable, yep, but it gets wilder. He has telekinesis, telepathy, and a healing factor that makes Wolverine pretty much look like a second fiddle. He also has, to a certain degree, molecular manipulation, meaning he can reshape matter itself. He once used that to beat Molecule Man, a villain who's basically a reality-warping god. Marvel's official site says his powers come from absorbing solar radiation, hence the million exploding suns tagline. And then there's the Void, his dark side, which is so powerful it can solo Asgard and most of the gods on it, like we saw in Dark Avengers when it tore through gods like paper. Remember that insane World War Hulk fight? Sentry and Hulk can go toe-to-toe, leveling Manhattan with punches so hard the city looks like the sun's surface. Sentry even says, "Does it always feel this good when you let go?" That's raw power incarnate. So we switch over to the MCU version. In Thunderbolts, we keep Sentry's core powers, mostly, but dial them back to fit the ensemble. He's got super strength, flight, invulnerability, and some dark energy powers that are manifested when he takes on the Void persona. Oh, and he also has some telekinetic abilities to go with it. The visual effects are pretty darn good looking, and especially in his big fight against a rival Thunderbolt. But some of the other powers are not quite obvious. Does he have telepathy? Not really. Does he have molecular manipulation? Not really at all. Those are missing in action, probably to avoid making him outshine his teammates like Yelena Belova or Red Guardian. The Void's not a sentient entity here, it's just unstable energy that manifests sort of in a split personality or identity type of problem, especially when he loses control. It's effective for action scenes, but it doesn't hit the same cosmic, world-shattering vibe as the comics. Imagine if the MCU let Sentry go full god mode like in Siege, ripping apart Asgard. Would that steal the show, or would it mess with the team's dynamic? It's pretty much a given that the team would look like a weak second fiddle to Sentry's true power if it was the same as it is in the comics. Well, let's talk about that guy's personality. Is he really the same kind of person? It sort of depends on your point of view. Robert Reynolds in the comics is one of Marvel's most human heroes. He's a guy wrestling with mental health issues, guilt, and the constant fear that the Void will take over. The 2000 Sentry miniseries showed him as a paranoid husband hiding his past from his wife Lindy while piecing together who he is. The 2018 Sentry series by Jeff Lemire doubles down with Robert trying to live a normal life but haunted by his power. His chats with heroes like Spider-Man, who remembers snapping an iconic photo of Sentry, or Hulk, who calls him old friend in World War Hulk, show a man desperate for connection but terrified of himself. The comics explore heavy themes, including identity, responsibility, and the toll of godlike power. It's like, what if Superman had a dark side he couldn't control? That's Sentry in the comics. Now we have the MCU version. He's not the same, but he's not too far off. He's more of a stoic, reluctant hero. In Thunderbolts, Robert's a brooding loner manipulated by Valentina to be the team's ultimate weapon. There's a great scene where he opens up to Yelena about his fear of losing control, hinting at the comic's vulnerability, but the movie's fast pace doesn't let it breathe too much. The focus is on his role as a volatile asset, not his inner turmoil. Themes of control and redemption are there, but they take a backseat to the heist-like plot. The comics make Sentry a tragic figure you can root for. The MCU makes him a cool but less layered protagonist. If the MCU leaned into his mental health struggles more, would it slow down the action or make him a standout? Well, that's up for you to decide, but if you want to tell me in the comics, I want to hear about that too. Alright, well, let's talk about Sentry's role within the context of the story and the narrative of the greater Marvel Universe. Sentry's role in stories is another big difference. In the comics, he's often a lone guardian or a wild card in team-ups. In New Avengers from 2005, he joins the team after a jailbreak at the Raft, where he rips Carnage in half. His power shifts entire arcs, like in World War Hulk, where he's the last hope against a rampaging Hulk, or in Siege, where the Void destroys Asgard. The comics use him sparingly, keeping him this mythic, almost untouchable figure, very similar to somebody like Beyonder as an example. Even in Dark Avengers, Norman Osborn manipulates him as a weapon, but Sentry's instability steals the show. He's the guy who can save or doom the world, and that makes the stakes feel huge. Contrast that with the film version. In Thunderbolts, Sentry's the team's heavy hitter, integrated into a dysfunctional anti-hero squad. He's less mythic, more grounded, even though he does have some delusions of grandeur, serving as the muscle in Valentina's schemes. His big moments, like a climactic brawl, drive the plot, but the ensemble format means he shares the spotlight with Yelena, Bucky, and the others. It's fun seeing him banter with the team, something the comics rarely do, but it sacrifices that larger-than-life vibe. In other words, they have to nerf him a little bit to get him to get along with more grounded street-level mortals. If the MCU gave Sentry a solo movie, it's a fair bet that it would be something that would compete with something like a true Superman movie. Could they capture his comic book gravitas? In this version, maybe not, but we shall see. So what's the verdict? Here's the big moment of truth. Which Sentry is better? Comic book Sentry is a masterpiece of complexity. His insane powers, tragic psyche, and the Void's ever-present threat make him unforgettable. Stories like the 2000 Sentry miniseries, World War Hulk, or the 2018 Sentry run show why he's one of Marvel's best. The MCU Sentry, he's a visual spectacle with a lot of action, and the Thunderbolts cast nails the team vibe. But the toned-down powers, simpler origin, and lack of psychological depth leave him feeling like a shadow of the comics. The film's ensemble focus is great for a heist flick, but it doesn't capture Sentry's full potential. What's the verdict? Comic Sentry takes the crown, hands down. That said, the MCU's just getting started with him. Maybe a future Thunderbolts sequel, or as we now know it, the New Avengers sequel, or could we get a solo project which will dive deeper into his Void-sized baggage? What do you think? Did the Thunderbolts do Sentry justice, or do the comics still rule? And that's a wrap for our Sentry Showdown. If you love this deep dive, check out the 2000 Sentry series by Paul Jenkins, World War Hulk, or the 2018 Sentry run for more Golden Guardian goodness. There are going to be links to where you can buy those series down in the description. Hit the like button if you're Team Comics, smash subscribe for more Marvel breakdowns, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments, what's your favorite Sentry moment? What do you want the MCU to do with him next? So, thank you very much for joining, and stay tuned through the outro for more reviews and comics commentary just like this one.